Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fantasy NBA Today, a sports ethos show brought to you by our great partners at FanDuel. I'm Aaron Bruski, joined as always by the great Dr. A. In today's show, we're going to be diving into top ads, breaking down players in the drop zone, highlighting the best streamers to help you guys win your week. Let's get started. Doc, how you doing, man? And who's your top ad after Monday night's rip-roaring three-game night?
How are you doing, man?
How are you doing, man?
Hey.
I was clearly not ready to start the show. Just throw that out there.
Hey, man.
Hey, man.
God.
That's like how people greet each other in the year 2020. What are we in? 2026 is like, hey, man, how you doing? And who's your top ad in fantasy basketball?
I'm going to go
Actually, I would
with
do
a
that
guy. I'm going to go with a guy named Precious, Brew. You talked about him yesterday as one of your, I think, favorite streamers, and I was kind of wrapped up in Maxime Reynaud land. But Precious Achiuwa has been playing pretty well lately. 14 points in each of his last two games. Last night, he hit 10 of 15 shots and had 22 points, 12 boards, a block and a steal. No threes, no assists. The peripheral stats are going to be touch and go with Precious Achiuwa, but if you're just looking for a big man to get you some points and boards, I think he's not a bad place to start right now.
I remember his Miami days. There was like a brief second where people thought maybe he's going to break out as a rookie young player, and everywhere he's gone, he's just had this thing where you give him a little bit of rope, he's like, I'll take the whole thing, and I'm a ball handling, driving, shooting, you name it kind of a guy. And then eventually he'll get put back in check and he gets back into his lane. Some of his New York days were kind of, more high-end IQ basketball, but you put him in a situation like Sacramento, and Memphis doesn't even have a big man in last night's game. So he just went out, he had a double-double before the halftime there. And I just think he mixes well with Sacramento junk basketball. Now, when Dylan Cardwell comes back, I think he will not have enough of the versatility to kind of sustain all of that. But look, I mean, it's going to be weird in Sacramento. So if Dylan Cardwell, for whatever reason, doesn't come back, or he comes back and they want to just play things a little bit differently, one extra player goes down. In other words, Precious Achiuwa could lead this tank into whatever they get in the draft. So I like it. I like it a lot. I got him in a couple places. I feel good about it. Another player that I have in high stakes action in at least one spot is Brice Sensabaugh. And he finally hit the big one, 26 points, 4 threes, 1 block. That's all you really expect out of him is points and threes. If he gets you anything else, it's a bonus. And as this team in Utah, and we'll talk about them a couple times today, as they turn the page there all the way. Oh, by the way, Yusuf Nurkic, nose surgery, out for the year. I thought that one was a little bit on the nose. They're going to turn to a guy like Brice Sensabaugh and make sure that they get the scoring they need. And it might be the case that down the stretch, Brice Sensabaugh averages over 20 points per game, say in the last 15 games of the season. It's going to be a bit bumpy here for the next week or two. So I think he might get added and dropped a couple times here. But down the stretch, 15 games to go, I think Brice Sensabaugh is your guy. Doc, who do you got next?
I wish Nurk would have had nose surgery about 3 months ago.
Oh, that would have been great. I hope he's okay.
Neek Clifford.
Staying
with the Kings. I don't know a lot about this dude, but I know that he had 12.6 boards, 5 assists, and 6 steals with a 3-pointer yesterday. The steals have been awesome. He's averaging 2 steals per game in the month of February to go along with 12 points, 4 boards, 4 assists, and a 3. So if you need steals, I think Neek Clifford is a good place to start because he had 6 of them last night, but he's had 2 in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of his last 8 games.
Yeah, I think he's a guy, if you're in a head-to-head league and you don't care about field goal percentage, I think he starts to get that kind of top 150 floor that you're looking for out of a player. And then I think you're just kind of plugging your nose and hoping for the best. The steals have been a pretty good feature here, 1.5 over the last 13 games. Also 4 boards and 3 assists, 11 points, 1.4 triples. It's 39% shooting on 10.5 attempts in that span and a 32-minute sample. I mean, so he's got to crank it all the way up to 32 minutes per game to get you inside of the top 150. If you punt the field goal percentage, it's a lot of work there, right? Like, but I think the thing we're watching for in Sacramento is they're going to give Russell Westbrook like his swan song. This is going to be the Russell Westbrook retirement tour or something. I don't even think he's going to retire, this upcoming summer. But Sacramento throwing away all of their developmental minutes so Russell Westbrook can do Russell Westbrook things, chucking the ball around the arena, not playing winning basketball in the slightest. They get rid of that guy. And I think you might see like Nick Clifford's stats across the board go up about 3 points a game, a couple boards a game, an assist or two a game, that kind of a thing. Then you're having maybe a top 100 player for down the stretch who's going to play every single night on a tanking team. So it's good stuff there. Since it's a 3-game night and we're looking at bottom barrel deals here. And I hate to preface that for Scottie Pippen Jr. He's one of my favorite players. I mean, I don't know if you remember this, Doc. Last year, I had a point where I said, like, do not drop Scottie Pippen under any circumstance. And then he proceeded to have like 2 months of doing nothing and came back and was good again. He's probably...
That sounds a little bit like Moussa Cisse.
It's too early in the show for this, Doc. I don't think we can. I don't think I can handle this. And I go to all my facial tics now. Like, can we fight?
I start twitching like
seriously. Happening again, Doc. Scottie Pippen Jr. Everybody is the topic that we're on right now. No, he had a very weird game, and I was listening to this on the radio as I was driving yesterday. He had like 3 steals in 3 straight possessions, and then Gary Gerald, the announcer for the Kings, pretty much went on and on about Scottie Pippen Jr. for a good solid 10 minutes. And he ends up with 6 points on 0 for 8 shooting, all of his points from the foul line. He gets 8 assists in this game and the 5 steals, and he does it in 22 minutes. Memphis is a total mess right now. It's going to be just weird out there. But Scottie Pippen Jr. gets good defensive stats. He scores pretty well. The field goal percentage can be good, but it can also go in the tank. It just kind of depends on how things are going at a given moment. But there's enough good in his fantasy stat set that I think to kind of just everybody needs to pay attention here. If they go -1, -2, in terms of players getting knocked out in Memphis, and all of a sudden it's the Scottie Pippen show for 25 minutes per game, I think he will get late round value, and I think he's got some mid-round upside in the last 2 to 3 weeks of the season. Doc, who do you got next?
Bro, I'm with you on Scottie Pippen, dude. I actually really like Scottie Pippen Jr., even though I still can't figure out why his name is spelled differently than his father's, but
I want to be different, dude.
I love him. And I mean, if he gets minutes, I want him on my team. He's a baller. And Memphis has too many guards, so it makes it wonky. But also your tick when I brought up Mrs. Cisse reminded me of Inspector Jacques Cousteau in the Pink Panther movies, when like the Attorney General or whoever that dude was, like Clouseau would come in and the dude just start twitching and convulsing.
I'm not there yet, dude. I'm feeling good today. I feel like we're getting some Moussa Cisse news.
Ooh.
Just saying that.
You think there's some Cisse news coming today?
Not today, actually. I think by the end of the week.
Okay.
I give myself a little space here.
So you just talked about obscure Memphis and weird things in Sacramento and Memphis. And I'm gonna throw out a name of a guy who I think was taken with like the 40. And it couldn't be the 48th. It had to be a 30.
It sounds 30, pretty close.
The 30, it says pick 48 overall. Second round pick for Memphis. Javon Small. He had 21 points, 6 boards, 9 dimes last night, 4 3-pointers. But get this, bro. In the month of February, he's shooting 52% from downtown. He's shooting 50% from the floor. He's averaging 1.1 steals per game. He's at 13.5 points. He's at 4.5 boards and almost 4 assists. And even 0.4 blocks. Like, he's actually playing very well and scoring in double digits on most nights. And I could see Javon Small becoming a silly season legend
I'm kind of
if
glad.
the stars align.
I'm kind of glad there was this weird basketball night on Monday where there's 3 games and we're getting the deep dive the Kings and the Grizzlies right now. And Javon Small is this player. So as you know, Cam Spencer was kind of cruising at the top 60 level for all that time, and basically all about Cam Spencer for like a month, maybe even month and a half there. I'd look at Javon Small and be like, I hope that dude doesn't ruin all that, because he's good. Like he's fast, he's strong, he's a little bit undersized height wise, but like all of the elements are there for him to be a good NBA basketball player. And I'm just kind of going in my head like, all right, well, 2 years from now, or maybe even next season, Javon Small might factor into things here in fantasy leagues. So I always like to tuck that note in the back of my head and remember it for later. The only issue is it's like, what is that, the 6th guard, not counting Ja in Memphis. So it's just such a weird situation. And the one thing about Memphis that's really killing them right now, it's not the Aldama's not playing. And I don't think he's coming back, is just kind of my general vibe right now. If he comes back, I think they get enough court balance to make some of these things work out more consistently for guys. You can't have Scottie Pippen Jr. going 0 for 8, and Cam Spencer going 0 for 8. These guys are doing that because there's nothing to guard out there, in terms of finishers, in terms of height. So this offense in Memphis, it's very tanky. It's good for them, but it's not great for consistency in the box score. All right, well, back to Sacramento we go. Daquan Plowden. And the thing about Plowden that's great, that's the thing I just said. Well, actually, I've been watching Plowden since his Atlanta days, and I kind of thought back in Atlanta, I was like, this guy can play. He's got a lot of spunk, good athleticism, and unfortunately for his fantasy stat set, it's like points and 3-pointers driven, and there's not a lot of versatility to his game. Playing in Sacramento, efficiency is going to be an issue. But I almost started him in my 30 deep team this week, Doc. They had 4 games this week, and I basically just said, look, I have such a lead in this league. All I got to do is just cruise to the finish. No taking risks on a guy named Daquan Plowden. And I wish I hadn't. I wish I'd started him, because he's probably going to have 4 decent games this week. And I think we're looking at late round value here for Daquan Plowden on a kind of per game basis the rest of the way this season. And there's opportunity for more. It just, again, comes back to the Russell Westbrook, DeMar DeRozan question and what Sacramento wants to do with their development. Doc, you got anybody else you want to throw in the ads list tonight?
Oh, do I? Oh, maybe Julian Champagny. He had a good game for San Antonio. 17 points, 6 boards, a steal, 2 blocks, 5 threes, 36 minutes, dude. And all the Spurs starters last night got 30 plus minutes, and that really hurt the guys that come off the bench, like Harry Barnes and Keldon Johnson and Luke Cornett and Dylan Harper. And San Antonio got a huge win, 11-point win over the Detroit Pistons, possibly a preview of the NBA Finals, Brew. And now San Antonio has 41 wins. Detroit has 42. And we got a little Cade versus Wemby MVP match going on. But anyway, as far as Julian Champagny goes, by the way, Wemby got a leg up. He took another step towards the MVP last night because Cade was not great. But I don't know. Do you trust Julian Champagny enough, Brew, to roll him out there on any given night? Or is it are you throwing
I trust him more than almost everybody that's not a legitimate fantasy starter. So I trust him more than Dylan Harper. I trust him more than any of the Burrito brothers. Like that's just, he's the one guy that he does enough of the kind of winning basketball things to be there every night. And he doesn't kind of need shots, doesn't need to dribble the ball. Even Devin Vassell needs to dribble the ball, to kind of be good enough to be, up in the high 20s, low 30s minutes. So Champagny just fits. And so he's the guy that I would rely on if I had to pick between anybody, including Devin Vassell.
I think last night was interesting because I feel like the Spurs have just been toying with the league. Like we'll play this guy this many minutes. We don't really. And last night it was all hands on deck. Like, hey, we're gonna go in, we're gonna roll Detroit, and we're gonna make a statement. But then next game, if they're playing the Kings, it's going to be more of a free for all. Everybody gets minutes. They were treating must win.
I'm going to talk about at least one more time today about the San Antonio Spurs, and it's going to be about Stephon Castle. I just think that dude is kind of changing the calculus in San Antonio on a game-by-game basis. He's so good and able to get whatever he wants out there that it's just they're kind of tilting his direction, and it's really, really complicated life for a lot of players, including De'Aaron Fox, Dylan Harper, and it's just it's his ball at this point, and everybody else can kind of get out of the way.
And I think while we're talking Spurs, we might as well mention Devin Vassell. 36 minutes, 28 points at 10 of 14 shots, 7 threes. And he was just out there wrecking people. And you look at this. You look at the Spurs, man. De'Aaron Fox,
that's not fair.
Devin Vassell, and Stephon Castle is their backcourt.
It's
like
even their
Fox
role players.
The worst player in their backcourt.
their role players are perfectly situated for what they need. It's a. I can't wait to bet the Spurs in this postseason. It's going to be awesome. And at the same time, I do have questions about whether Stephon Castle can, in a playoff setting, get all of these kinds of shots that he's getting right now, because he gets them on athleticism and strength. And I think because of the increased physicality that's allowed in the playoffs, there's going to be a lot of stuff that he can't get anymore. And if he has to figure that one out on the fly, that might be the one thing that slows him down. All right, let's shift gears. Let's slow down, Doc. Let's get to the drop zone. This is where we talk about struggling players, potential buy lows, candidates to drop. Who would you like to talk about first?
Dylan Harper of the Spurs. We just talked about it. He only got 18 minutes last night because Castle and Vassell and De'Aaron Fox. I almost called him Cassell. Stephon Cassell. Castle. But all those guys
came from, but nobody cares.
Everybody got so many minutes from those guys. Those guys all got so many minutes that it didn't leave much for Dylan Harper. He only played 18 minutes, had 5 points. He was 2 of 7. He didn't shoot it well. Just a nothing game. He was smack dab in the middle of my FanDuel lineup, which means I lost. But if you look at Harper, the month of February, he's been pretty good. And like we just talked about, I think that the Spurs were kind of like, hey, everybody who comes off the bench, you guys just need to chill out tonight because we're going to do everything we can to win this game. And, nobody on the bench really did anything. And that's not typical of the Spurs. So tough night for Dylan Harper. Do you drop him? I think I'm cool with dropping Dylan Harper if you've got a hot free agent that you want to pick up, and especially if you want to stream somebody tonight. But I'm also okay with keeping him.
My only argument for keeping him is if they get into a standings island down the stretch. And again, Wemby's MVP pursuit really does play into this. It's a big time kind of probable team goal. I don't know how much I want to put into that basket, but if I'll put it this way, it's probably a 60% chance or better that they're going to try to go for that. Which means that it's less likely Dylan Harper gets the late season minutes. If they want to take like the last 2 weeks of the season and see what they can get Dylan Harper doing, maybe that's a strategy that gets him some nice end of season pop there. But otherwise, I'm all out on that. And Asar Thompson, I'm almost all the way out on Asar Thompson. Where I have Asar Thompson, I kind of need to keep him for competitive reasons, not relating to my own team. That's probably the easiest way to put that. But he's just been a late round guy forever. A couple of weeks back, he had some big steal and defensive games. And if you look at a 8-game sample, he's got some top 75 numbers. But like, you want to look in the last couple of weeks, top 150. You want to go back in time, top 150. And, you're sitting here at this time of season and you're looking at the name value of Asar Thompson and you're going, okay, this guy's Asar Thompson and he was supposed to be good. Everybody drafted him in the middle rounds, blah, blah, blah. And you got this kind of laundry list of players, the Neek Cliffords of the world. Not that I would actually make that move because I'm not in on Neek Clifford, but like, there's going to be guys like that. Everybody we talked about at the beginning of this show and probably about 20 other players similarly that might just go off in the last 4 weeks. So my thing with Thompson is really judge what your needs are. If you need his steals, I think that's the primary indicator right there that you should hang on to Asar Thompson. If you don't need the steals, I think you guys got to go shopping somewhere else, and feel free to drop the name value as we get into the silly season here. Doc, who do you got next?
Greg Rosenthal texted me in the middle of a couple of months ago. He's a legend football guy at Roto World, legendary. And he's like, man, do I need to hang on to Asar Thompson? Like, I want to cut him. And I was like, just cut him, dude. Just do it. And then Asar kind of got hot for, like you said, 2 weeks. And he played really well for a couple of weeks. And I was like, man, did I tell him the right thing? And I don't know who he picked up or who ended up on his roster in place of Asar Thompson. But I'm guessing whoever it is better than Asar Thompson. So I don't feel bad about that advice.
His role is kind of stuck where it is. I don't think it's going to get any bigger. He just is what he is. And I don't think that's changing this season. He might get like tons of elements to his game next year, and it might be the post-hype year, another term coined by Greg Rosenthal. And whenever you talk about Greg or a text, I can't not remember that as I'm heading into this, what was at the time a high-stakes fantasy football contest, and he says, just don't worry about it as a playoff format. Don't worry about who you think is going to win. Just take the best player. And that was Larry Fitzgerald in the great Arizona Cardinals run. And an 80-yard touchdown in the Super Bowl won me $30,000. Thank you so much, Greg. Doc.
$30,000?
That's a real thing that happened. Yeah. Yeah, we were working together at the time. You knew all about that, and you have since forgotten.
No.
You might want to go see a doctor about that.
I don't think you told me that you won. You tell me, you mentioned you throw around high stakes like I throw around REM and Malcolmus. You throw it around all the time. But I don't know what it exactly means. That's a lot of data.
It's a vague statement that nobody's supposed to know what it means.
It's a lot of money.
Okay, so we're on Asar Thompson. Now it's your turn, Doc. Who are you going to drop? This is the painful portion of the show. We have to talk about people that we like that are not performing well.
Ace Bailey, my boy. 4 points, 8 boards, 2 steals, 2 of 9 shooting, 27 minutes. It's a blip on the radar, man. They were getting run out of the gym by Houston. Houston plays incredible defense. Ace had no chance against those guys. Just rattling off his points the last 8 games: 20, 15, 13, 16, 10, 20, 19. Bunch of rebounds, bunch of assists in there. Decent threes. He doesn't steal and block as much as I would like him to, but it is what it is. He's a rookie. But Ace Bailey, if he ends up in the drop zone in your league, I think you should pick him up.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be bumpy for him. And even especially if, we'll talk about Keontae George like right now. But like if George is back in and you get Lauri Markkanen playing a little bit more than people would maybe like in Utah, then it gets just harder for Ace Bailey to be more consistent. This season, 0.8 steals, 0.5 blocks in 26.5 minutes per game. So maybe he can get that up to 2, a combined 2, if he gets like over 30 minutes per game, and silly season stuff leads to more turnovers, leads to more defensive stats. And that would be one path for him to get to consistency. And the other stuff is kind of just middle of the road. He's a 70% foul shooter on 1 attempt per game. So it's just a lot of jump shots out of Ace Bailey, which is my other concern. It's like they're going to prioritize him more than Kyle Filipowski, but it's the stat set. It's not as consistent. His shots are tougher. And while he'll have some pop games that will probably look a lot better, and it'll just feel like they want him to work out more than Kyle Filipowski, I just think Kyle Filipowski will be the dude. And then, so that kind of leads us to the next thing here. Keontae George, Doc. I'll say this about what we know. All we know is that he was listed questionable and did not play. So we don't really have a whole lot of inside intel on what's going to happen with Keontae George here. So basically, folks have to look at his top 30 per game value on the season, and even better in 8 cap formats, and try to just make a choice. Like, at what point in time is this too difficult to be able to hold on to Keontae George? Like, where's your threshold, Doc?
I just had an entire conversation with my wife.
I know. I was watching it happen too. It was like, how can I drag this intro to the
No, I
Keontae
liked
George
it. I liked
out?
the.
That was hard work. I was working very hard over here.
I don't know what to do with Keontae George. I don't have him anywhere, and I know that I was jealous of people who did have him all year, and then he literally like fell off a cliff. Like one day Keontae George was awesome, and the next day he was gone. I don't know. I mean,
like on one hand, the folks that drafted him did a pretty good job to get him at a great value, right? Like I think people were not expecting top 30 Keontae George. So that's a little bit of protection here for the fact that, like, if you could do it all over again, if everybody knew Keontae George was going to be Keontae George this season and they were going to draft him accordingly, you're spending a third or a fourth round pick on a guy that plays for Utah. Bottom line, plays for Utah. Tank stuff's going to just get in here and mess things up. So
with no injured reserve, are you dropping Keontae George? Are you done? Are you out?
No, I'm not. There's too much value here, and I just wonder the tanking stuff in the league is getting like Rick Carlisle actually just went on air, local Indiana radio, and he talked about what the league did to deal with their penalty, their fine, and this was surrounding Aaron Neesmith. And they said the league's lawyer came in and basically didn't want to evaluate him, didn't want to talk to him. Like they didn't want to have the league doctors evaluate him. And then they also wanted to medicate him, as according to Rick. So he would kind of play through his, I guess, an ankle injury at the time. And so, I mean, that tells me the league's doing stuff. Like, I mean, you send your lawyer in to basically interview the team, and you've kind of got your own preconceived notion about how you want to handle it if you're the league. You don't really talk with the team all that much, and then you slap them with a fine. Like, I don't know what that all is, but I do know that that's some sort of action occurring by the league. And so what happens if the league goes, hey, Utah, Keontae George should play through it or something, to kind of mimic this last situation. And then Utah goes, all right, well, we do need to put Keontae out here for, like, say, that's questionable tag, sort of runs its course. And then he plays at, say, the back end of this week. And then he plays another week. And they figure they can do that and maybe play him another week and then start to tank him. Well, you're going to watch Keontae George on your waiver wire. You're going to cry when somebody else picks him up. So I'm going to hold Keontae George. There's a lot of questions in our chat right now that are actually good for the listeners. So I'll throw them out here. We got Keontae George or a bunch of different players. And so let's start. Justin Champagny, it's going to be Keontae George. Keontae George or DeAnthony Melton, it's going to be Keontae George.
I don't know. I think I want Melton.
Okay.
If Melton's healthy,
I don't
questionable tonight.
I would not bet on Melton's health or the Warriors at this point. The next one's even more interesting, Brandon Podziemski, because he's not going to get hurt, I don't think. He could be a mini tank commander if Golden State decides to let go of the rope here. But I would still hold Keontae George. Keontae George or Jarris Walker. This one's fun.
I'd rather have Jarris.
I need to know that I'm punting field goal percentage and turnovers as well. If those two things are things I care about, I'll go Keontae George, because those two things are starting to come back and hurt Jarris Walker now. And it profiles like that's going to keep hurting him. Keontae George, this is going to be a fun one, Doc. Keontae George, I'll save the best one for last. Keontae George or Keegan Murray. This is not the last. This is not the best
I'd rather have Keegan.
I think the Kings are invested in Keegan at this moment. So I'm going to go Keegan Murray here because it could be top 60, 70.
I just don't know. I don't feel like Keontae George has anything left to prove. I don't feel like Danny Ainge needs to see anything else. Like, we're good. You should put him on the shelf until next year, and let's hopefully not tank next year. I just feel like
really aggressive about tanking about 3 weeks ago, and it really changed the dynamic prior to the trade deadline. It really changed the dynamic of the season, I think, for a bunch of different teams. Like, if it was just tanking as normal, I think Keontae George would have probably played a little bit more down the stretch. But I don't know if teams got wind of the rules possibly changing at some point. This stuff, what we hear about it, they hear about it about 3-4 weeks earlier. So it's just an interesting little tidbit there. And the last one here, I would go Keegan Murray in that case, because I think the Kings want to develop him. And I'll keep the King. I'm not going to talk about the Kings. My God. This last one, that was fun. Keontae George or Colin Gillespie? You know where I'm going with this.
I mean, where has Colin Gillespie been?
Colin Gillespie, like in the last game, got really lucky because I think they were on pace to score 70 points in that game against Portland. And Portland had like Tamani Kamara and all these different players just draped all over him, like all these athletic Drew Holiday types. Like he could not get free to save his life. And then in the fourth quarter, he like magically got open and hit like 4 threes, and it saved an otherwise bad stat line after a triple overtime game. He is fine though, as long as he's like the hand thing where he landed on his hand. As long as that's not an issue, he is Colin Gillespie still, and they're banged up. I mean, Jordan Goodwin. 1 to 2 weeks. And I think that's kind of a light timeline. That might be accelerated because Devin Booker also out. You got Dylan Brooks out. I think they're now trying to play the let's stay healthy for the playoffs game.
Grayson Allen hasn't been healthy all year.
I think they're going to ride Colin Gillespie the rest of the way. Colin Gillespie might finish the season as a top 30 fantasy basketball player on the season. And that's as good as Keontae George.
All right, you just told me.
Yep. Sold. To the man across from me on the right side of the screen. All right. Where were we? We got a little deep there. I hope it was all actionable for you guys. Cam Spencer, 7-3-3, a steal and a 3. I'll keep this one short so we can stay on time. We got 22 minutes from Cam Spencer. That game was a junk game. He's been playing junk games for the last 2 to 3 weeks. I like him as a streamer. I'll say that right now and preview that for a few seconds from now. But it's been so quiet for Cam Spencer. I think he's clearly a drop in 12-team leagues, probably a drop in 14-team leagues. If you tell me they're going to have a big man that can play basketball, not named Olivier Maxence Prosper, who is doing just fine for what he is, but they need an actual big man in there to balance things out. Because otherwise, I think Cam Spencer's fine standing in the corner, taking the occasional 3 and letting all the other guards do what they need to do. So Cam Spencer, droppable. Doc, who's your top streamer heading into tonight?
I'm going Cason Wallace of the Oklahoma City Thunder. No Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. No AJ Mitchell. No Jalen Williams. Alex Caruso, questionable. And Cason Wallace's numbers had been falling off a little bit, but in his last game, he had 20 points, 4 boards, 10 assists, 3 steals, 4 triples. I'm hoping he brings that to the table again tonight. And if you want to, you can also look at Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe. There's the other Jalen Williams. There's lots of streamers in OKC.
As always, I like Chris Middleton tonight. I think I saw some random report. I have no idea if this is true or not, which goes great with today's day and age of social media. But saw something that maybe Mark Stein said that Chris Middleton gets to call his shot, whether he wants to stay in Dallas or go elsewhere and try to kind of get some good, important basketball under his belt this March, April, and theoretically beyond. I just think that they're fine in Dallas, letting Chris Middleton just kind of see what he can show the rest of the league. It kind of fits well with what they need right now. Cooper Flagg is out, so they're just going to give Chris Middleton the ball, and you're just going to get some possible top 100 line and maybe something a little extra. Doc, who do you got next?
Ousmane Dieng went off last Thursday when he had 19 points, 11 boards, 6 dimes, 4 blocks, and a steal, and 3 3-pointers. And then his next game, it kind of fell apart and didn't do a whole lot. And then his next game, he went from 36 minutes to 22 minutes down to 15 minutes, and he didn't do anything of note in that last game. So he had 1 great game in Milwaukee, 2 terrible ones, 1 okay one. He's played 4. I'm looking for the bounce back tonight, Brew.
Yeah.
No Giannis. There's no reason that Dieng should not get 25 or 30 minutes for this team. They don't have an excess of big men to begin with. So I'm kind of going with the super sleeper pick of the night is Ousmane Dieng.
Yeah, it's super sleeper territory for sure. And he can reach up to the stars and grab one. Like the interesting thing there is they are talking in Milwaukee about Ousmane Dieng. Like Bobby Portis was on, I think, FanDuel show with Michelle Beadle and all them. And Bobby Portis just literally, he calls out both Cam Thomas and Usman Jang. Not for no reason. I don't think there's just been a lot of focus on him locally, and you don't want a young player to kind of get 2 or 3 bad games in a row under his belt. It just kind of kill his confidence. I think they'll come back to him here tonight, hopefully, and there's a lot of rest of season possible stash value there as well. Let's get to Washington, where Tristan Vukcevic and Justin Champagnie, just to keep it weird, they've been declared healthy. So I got some background from Andrea and the Chris Middleton stuff. I'll come back to that. Vukcevic and Champagnie have both been ruled healthy. Now, does that mean they play? We don't know. What I like about this as a streamer situation is you get that potential rest of season value. I dropped Champagnie because of the zigzaggy production all year, and that in addition to the what if, I can't know if you're going to play on a given night. That was fine for me to drop in 8-cat 200 player formats. The Tristan Vukcevic potential was too much for me to drop, so I hung on and rolled there. But if Justin Champagnie gets back, he was supposed to be one of the guys that was best situated after the trade deadline, and then Washington decided to get aggressive with their tank. So Champagnie could be a top 75 guy. Why not throw him in a lineup for a streamer situation and see if you actually get some pretty good upside out of it. So I like both of those guys as a streamer. Doc, who do you got next?
Bro, I'm going to shift gears. I'm mixing it up. I hope this doesn't mess up your sheet.
Never.
I had Anthony Gill written down, but with Vukes healthy and poised to probably play, I'm not messing with Gill tonight. He's a big man for the Wizards. I don't know if you had him on your list or not, but I'm gonna throw Quentin Jackson out there. Did you have him, Brew?
You did, and you can take him. It's fine.
Well, we can do it together. How about that?
Yeah. How about that?
I'm not going to mess with Quentin Jackson unless I know that he is starting for the Indiana Pacers. If he's starting for the Pacers tonight, he will be in my FanDuel lineup, and I will stream him wherever I can.
Right now, Andres, imagine the two of us holding hands, skipping through a field. Beautiful moment, he says. Okay, so like Anthony Gill, maybe, how things go in Washington, maybe he could be on the radar. Quentin Jackson, I like him as an ad. I just think he's going to be the guy down the stretch. So that's going to be great. I'm going to go back to that news basically on Chris Middleton, because it's really interesting. He did, Mark Stein, report that the front office told him he can choose to stay or negotiate a contract buyout. That tells me, honestly, that they're not that into Moussa Cisse. Like, if you need a roster spot to convert Moussa Cisse into, so you can basically protect his, his free agency this upcoming year, I would be using the roster spot on Moussa Cisse. But what do I know? If I'm one of the 29 other teams out there, I would be aggressive. Just like with Colin Gillespie last season, like nobody made that dude an offer because the league's asleep and they don't have good people doing the jobs. Like, same thing. So if you watch the show in Sacramento, you want to make a quick buck, there you go. All right. I got Moussa Dia.
Would you rather have, and I think I know what you're going to say here, would you rather have Jarris Walker or Quentin Jackson?
Oh,
like right now, they're both on.
I'll take Jarris Walker. The field goal thing is annoying. I'll just assume that I care about it as well, just to keep it real. I'll take Jarris Walker just because I feel like he is their tank commander. Like, I think there's some value in consistency and knowing what you're getting.
Well, you may have been sold that bill of goods by a traveling, what do they call them? Fish oil salesman.
A fish oil.
That was me. That was
you,
selling
dude.
you on Jarris Walker being the.
It's very close, and honestly, Quentin. If you told me today that Quentin Jackson had the deal, the full deal, I would definitely do that. But things get weird. Things get weird with two-way players. Okay. Moussa Diabate is on my list. I just think this is a great time to take a stab. Like, they had won so much with him. Does he get the job now? Does he get the job back? If he gets the job back, you get yourself a late round center. Doc, you got anybody else you want to mention?
Just DeJounte Murray is out there, and he's going to play tonight for New Orleans. Is he going to play 8 minutes? Is he going to play 17 minutes? Is he going to play 30? I don't know. But all I do know is that when DeJounte Murray used to play basketball. He was really good at points, steals, rebounds, assists, threes. So maybe somebody wants to roll the dice on him tonight. But in one way or the other, just make sure he's not somehow sitting on your league's waiver wire.
Yeah, I think it's worth a stab. He used to have top 40 value every single season. And that's going to do it for this episode of Fantasy NBA today. Can't believe a 3-game night turned into a 40-minute show. And if you're listening on the pod feed, take a 60 seconds, please, and leave a 5-star review. That really helps us out. Thank you very much. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to the Sports Ethos channel so you guys never miss an episode. From Doc, Andre, and everybody here at Sports Ethos, we will be right back with our daily fantasy deep dive, available exclusively on the Fantasy NBA Today pod feed and the Sports Ethos YouTube channel. This has been Fantasy NBA Today, presented by FanDuel.
That was quite a 3-game night show we just did, bro.
45